All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We are cracking open a technical stock report for a company called BigBear.ai, ticker BBAI. Now, look, this isn't financial advice. The goal here is to really decode how analysts take a mountain of data and turn it into a story about where a stock might be headed. So, let's get into it.
When you first looked at a report like this, it can be a lot. It's just a wall of charts, numbers, and jargon that can make your eyes glaze over. So our job today is to be detectives. We're going to sift through all this evidence and figure out what these clues are really trying to tell us about BBAI.
Okay, first things first. We need to establish the basic facts of the case. Every investigation starts with a file, and this is ours for BBAI. And here's our starting point. As of October 29th, 2025, BigBear.ai is trading at $6.78. The report's also quick to point out that on this particular day, it's down about 4.5%. So right off the bat, we've got some downward pressure.
And here it is. This is the central puzzle of our entire investigation. The report's main finding is, well, it's kind of contradictory, isn't it? Neutral, but with mild bearish undertones. What does that even mean? Our mission is to figure out exactly why the data is pointing in two different directions at the same time.
So, to solve this little mystery, we have to start decoding the clues. And the first set of clues is all about the stock's overall trend. Is it generally heading up, down, or just sideways? A key tool for figuring that out is something called the moving average. Think of it like this. A stock's price can be all over the place day to day, right? It's noisy. The moving average just smooths all that noise out by showing you the average price over a certain time, like 5 days or 200 days. It helps us see the bigger picture, the general path the stock is on.
And this slide right here gets to the absolute heart of that neutral but bearish conclusion. The current price, that $6.78, is below the recent 5-day and 10-day averages. That suggests some short-term weakness. But, and this is a big but, it's still above the long-term 200-day average, which tells us the stock is still in a broader uptrend. It's a classic tug-of-war between the short-term view and the long-term view.
All right, our investigation is deepening. We've seen the trend is conflicted, so now we've got to look at momentum. This is all about the force behind the price moves. Is buying pressure building up, or is selling pressure starting to take over? Wow, okay, this slide just lays that conflict out perfectly. On the left, you've got all these bearish signs. And listen, you don't need to know what every single one of these indicators is called. Just know they're all basically screaming that momentum is weakening. But then, on the right, you've got these bullish signs. Some indicators are in what's called oversold territory, which kind of means the stock might have been sold off too hard and it could be due for a bounce. It's just another major contradiction in our case file. So to settle this, let's look at a potential tiebreaker, the Relative Strength Index, or RSI. The absolute easiest way to think about the RSI is like a tug-of-war between buyers and sellers measured from 0 to 100. If the number's high, buyers are winning. If it's low, sellers are winning. So, what happens if it's right in the middle? Well, that is exactly what we have here. The RSI for BBAI is sitting at 46.36. It's not high, it's not low, it's smack dab in the middle. It is the technical equivalent of a shoulder shrug. This pretty much confirms the market is totally undecided right now, which means making a big bet either way is basically a coin flip until a clear direction emerges. Okay, so far we know the trend is mixed and the momentum is totally neutral. For our next step, we're going to map out the key battlegrounds for the stock's price. In the trading world, these are called support and resistance levels. This is our first key level, support, at $6.75. The easiest way to think of this is as a price floor. It's a level where buyers have tended to step in before, and they'll likely try to defend it to stop the price from falling any further. And this is the ceiling or resistance at $7.27. This is a price where sellers have historically shown up, taken control, and pushed the price back down. The stock has really struggled to break through this point. And finally, right in the middle, we have the pivot point at $6.93. This is the central balance point between that floor and that ceiling. Often, whether the stock can stay above or below this pivot can give you a hint about which way it's leaning for the day. So the big takeaway here is that BBAI is basically trapped between these key levels. So we've gathered all our clues, the conflicted trend, the neutral momentum, and these key price levels we just mapped out. Now, in our final section, we can put this all together and understand the 3 potential scenarios the report lays out.
Based on all that data, the report boils it all down to these three possible paths forward for BBAI. You've got a positive outcome, a negative one, and, well, a neutral one. Let's take a quick look at what would need to happen for each of these to play out.
For the bullish case to happen, those oversold indicators we saw earlier would need to actually trigger a bounce. That means buyers would have to come in strong and push the price decisively through that ceiling at 727, and a few other momentum signals would have to flip positive. Now, on the flip side, the bearish scenario takes over if that negative short-term momentum wins the tug-of-war. The key trigger here would be the price breaking below that floor at $6.75. If that support level breaks, the report suggests the next stop could be all the way down around $6.20.
But, given all the conflicting evidence we've seen, the report suggests that the most likely path, at least in the short term, is this neutral one. This basically means the stock just keeps bouncing between that support floor at $6.75 and the resistance ceiling at $7.27, chopping around that pivot point without making any big, decisive move. And here we are. We've come full circle, right back where we started, but now it all makes sense. Our detective work has led us right to the report's final conclusion. All those conflicting clues are precisely why the verdict is neutral with bearish inclinations. The data is essentially saying, hey, maybe just wait for the stock to break out above resistance or fall below support before you get too confident about where it's headed.
So we've broken down the case file. We've seen the evidence. We've seen that constant push and pull between the bullish and the bearish signals. The final question, really, is for you. Now that you've seen all the evidence laid out like this, which path do you think the story is most likely to follow from here?